265,000 concealed carry permit holders, including me, in Illinois. Um,
in the entire state. Okay.
so far, now that's a fraction of the overall number of FOID card holders, probably about, I don't know, 10%.
Yeah, but I know people who are FOID card holders that don't own a firearm. They just
Right.
do it to support.
Yeah. No one has been convicted of a crime with his permitted concealed handgun.
Okay.
5 individuals face charges. 4 of them may have used the guns in self-defense. So,
Just four?
yes.
Huh.
So in Illinois, there have been 0 convictions for crimes committed with a permitted concealed handgun annually. 0.63 per 100,000 permit holders are charged with such a crime. So, in point of fact, the experience, including states that have had right to carry for many, many years longer than Illinois, say like Florida, is that the law abiding gun owners pre concealed carry are still law abiding gun owners post concealed carry. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by John Lott, our friend, who, of course, is the president of the Crime Prevention Center, author of numerous books on this topic, including The War on Guns, More Guns, and Less Crime. John Lott Jr., thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, it's great to talk to you guys again.
So it's fun to be able to make some assessments about Illinois now that we've had concealed carry for a few years, as I mentioned, and what we see in Illinois, I guess you would argue, is consistent with what we see nationally, which is sort of what I said: law-abiding gun owners are law-abiding gun owners, whether they're concealing or not.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same. You look across the states, you find that people lose their permits for any firearms-related violation at thousands or tens of thousands of 1 percentage point. And even many of those are relatively trivial offenses, like somebody forgetting to have their permit with them when they're carrying, or accidentally walking into a gun-free zone. Not something that endangers anybody else, or it's just mistakes that people make every once in a while.
But
And you seem to. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. You finish your statement. Sorry for interrupting.
Uh, and that's what you see in Illinois. As you say, there's for almost 4.5 years you've had permits issued in the state, and you have 0 people that have been convicted of any crime being committed with their permanent concealed handguns so far.
And reading this Chicago Tribune article too, I mean, it seems like the premise was to vilify gun owners and those with concealed carry. But in it, I mean, they're celebrating. They just state the facts. Here's a great example. At 8:30 p.m. on March 27th, a man from Mount Prospect was driving in the 700 block of North Clark Street. He saw 3 people attacking a man. The driver got out, walked toward the attackers, and they were all wearing surgical masks. And he pulled out his gun to scare them away. And the man had a concealed carry. So I mean, there's so many stories that I wasn't even aware of where people who own concealed carry or who have concealed carry permits are actually heroes.
Right. Look, using these types of media reports, you're going to find bad cases even much more easily than you're going to find the benefits. I mean, often if somebody just, brandishes their gun and scares away the attackers, that's not going to get news coverage. But if you have a permit holder who's been charged with some type of violation, that's for sure going to get some type of coverage. And yet, as you say, you go through and read these cases, and virtually all the ones that you see there have something to do with self-defense.
I had the occasion to interview Maj Touré the other day, and you can get that interview at upstream-ideas.com, by the way. He's the founder of this organization called Black Guns Matter, this high school dropout, former drug dealer from North Philly, who started this in Philadelphia, and now he was in Chicago this weekend. He's making his way around the country, and he's basically, the angle he's taking is to teach urban citizens, as he calls them, urban residents, but urban citizens, he focuses on that, how to be law-abiding, knowledgeable gun owners. And it's really interesting because he's very street smart, but he gets what the gun control proponents are trying to do, particularly as it relates to his community, black families, that gun control is people control. He completely gets that. And so he's sort of paying it forward with his awakening on this issue and on being able to protect yourself. And I wonder what your experience is in terms of making the kind of what is the end game of gun control proponents argument, or just focusing like you do at the Crime Prevention Research Center on the safety, the law-abiding nature of the 99% plus of gun owners. Which do you think moves the debate more quickly in the direction of the law-abiding?
Well, I just want to make a comment first, and that is, if my research convinces me of anything, there's certain groups of people who benefit much more from owning guns than others do, and those tend to be the people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime. And that is a fairly easily identifiable group, and that's poor blacks who live in high-crime urban areas. The other group of people who benefit the most are people who are relatively weaker physically, women and the elderly. Criminals like to go and target victims who are relatively easy for them to overpower. So I'm glad that he's doing the type of thing that he's doing there to encourage gun ownership by people who need protection the most. I mean, police are extremely important, but I'm sure anybody in Chicago knows that, and I'm sure police generally know themselves, they virtually always arrive on the crime scene after the crimes occurred. And so the question is, what do you advise people to do when they're having to confront a criminal by themselves? And having a gun is by far the safest course of action. But, with regard to the gun control, I guess over time I've come to believe, unfortunately, that the types of gun control regulations that get pushed, the real reason is just to try to disarm people. I'll give you a simple example. I can give you a dozen of these cases. In 2013, when Colorado was pushing these background checks on private transfers of guns, I got a call from some state legislators asking me what amendment I would put up. And my suggestion was to have an amendment that would exempt people below the poverty level from having to pay the new state tax that they were imposing on the transfer of guns. Well, with the exception of two pro-gun Democrats in the state House, every other Democrat voted against exempting people below the poverty level from having to pay the new state tax. I'll give you another quick example. In Maryland, that same year, when they adopted licensing and registration of handguns, basically costing over $250 or so to go through the process, I suggested the same type of amendment to exempt people below the poverty level from having to pay those fees and taxes. The Democrats, who control more than two-thirds of both the state House and the state Senate, wouldn't even let that amendment come up for a vote. I mean, how many taxes and fees can you think of the Democrats will fight tooth and nail against exempting people below the poverty level from having to pay?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's right. So it's just part of the orthodoxy, and until there's a sort of an independent, clean break from that line of thinking, particularly in urban centers, they'll keep promoting it because it's politically advantageous to do so, to blame guns and to blame, it's boogeyman politics. So that to me, Maj Toure, and what he's doing is sort of perhaps our best hope, but somewhat ironically, but you got to have people with credibility in those communities, offer a different way of thinking.
Right. I mean, look at Illinois. To get a concealed carry permit in Illinois, you have to pay a $150 fee, and then you have to go and get 16 hours of training, which can run another $300, or at least $250 or so. And then, I mean, who do they think they're excluding by having those incredibly high costs to go and get a concealed carry permit? It's not wealthy whites who live in the suburbs. It's basically poor blacks, poor minorities who they're stopping from getting permits. And then, you live in Chicago. There's no training facilities in Chicago.
No.
You have to travel outside.
Right.
You're not allowed in Illinois to carry even permanent concealed handguns on public transportation.
Right.
So it's kind of like they've gone through and checked off all the boxes. It's costly. We make it difficult for people to be able to go and get the training so they can go and get the license. If you live in Chicago, you're going to have to borrow a car or something to be able to go out to the suburbs to be able to go and get the training, and you're going to have to do it on multiple days.
Well, and
you're not going to be able to get 16 hours of training in one day.
Well, in addition to that, right, in Chicago, you basically can't conceal carry. I mean, you're within
Every
X number
bar
of
has
feet of a bar, restaurant, a park, school,
a church.
In addition to, of course, all the unfriendly, kind of gun crossed out buildings. I mean, basically, you can just carry when you're driving around in your car in Chicago. That's about it, really.
Right.
And also, too, I mean, think about public transportation. We have had so many robberies, even some rapes on CTA trains, whether it's a red line,
right.
purple line, orange line, pink line. And that's the place the most where people need to conceal carry.
Yeah, I mean, you have some woman who has to work late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just on the trains. It's also going to and from them. Because if you ban them being able to go and carry on the trains, then you ban them be able to go to and from those trains,
Yeah,
too.
right. That's right. Yeah. Well, John Lott, president of the Crime Prevention Center, author of a number of books, including The War on Guns, More Guns, Less Crime. Make sure to check his website, crimeresearch.org, for updated information about this topic, concealed carry permit holders, as well as many others in this topic area. John Lott, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great talking to you. Thanks.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.